The Center for Human Rights in North Korea, teaming up with the George Bush Institute, are pushing to raise awareness of the hidden gulags, the hidden prisons inside the DPRK. And they've gone on a big blitz media campaign to say how 130,000 people are locked up in the country and basically tortured for disagreeing with the government. And they have this whole campaign going, Twitter hashtag #ExposeNK, and all that stuff. And it's basically a rehash of everything that we've already been told for, a couple decades now, without really anything being added to it. Think about that. George Bush. Now, there's a name you've certainly associated with human rights, correct? They're calling this whole thing the Hidden Gulag, to show the world what's going on. Of course, they don't actually show you anything. Now, these hidden gulags, are these the ones that you've been going on about for 20 years? Are these, the gulags that they say are held over people's heads as a threat? If you don't obey the government, then you're going to go to one of these gulags. Because it's funny you use the word hidden, yet they turn around and claim that people are threatened with it all the time. And it's hidden, but they've been throwing this at the entire world for decades. It's beginning to make me wonder that if they even know what the word hidden means. They have a very interesting post there, Get the Facts. And all of these facts come from studies which say they don't have any definitive proof of what they're saying. They don't have any hard evidence, just satellite photos and people's testimony. In fact, they even go on to say, conducted with interviews of over 60 people and satellite photos, so-called defectors. So you're saying get the facts that aren't proven. Essentially, that's what they're saying. But then again, this is the George Bush Institute. Isn't this the guy who said it was a fact, or there was proof that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, when in fact we were not even given any evidence? Now think about this. You remember Shin Don-hyuk? Remember him? He was the guy who supposedly escaped from a labor camp and then gave his story to a writer, and the writer didn't really believe him. How appropriate is it seeing him buddy-buddy with George Bush, who gave us the story about weapons of mass destruction? Of course, they always rely on the old story. People are locked up for disagreeing with the government. They're locked up for 3 generations. Or people are locked up for being born into the wrong class, meaning people who were middle class during Japanese occupation. Of course, once again, they don't actually give anything to show this, because, of course, once again, this 130,000 number, it's all people who just disagreed with the government. That's right. Apparently, nobody gets arrested for rape, murder, theft, or assault, or any crime. Apparently, nobody commits crimes. The entire prison population of the whole country is just people who disagreed with the government. Even though, even among defectors, Kim Jong-un has a 60% approval rating, which was even touted and questioned by, anti-DPRK media. I mean, let's go on about, how bad human nature is, and it's terrible, it's awful, and that's why we need capitalism. Well, except in communist countries for some reason, where the only way you can go to jail is by disagreeing with the government. Apparently nobody commits any crimes of any kind, despite the terrible, awful human nature. They're going with the number 130,000 people. Of course, they say this is only an estimate from witnesses. Apparently, with the multiple gulags, somebody witnessed all of them. So, in other words, regardless of that fact, they don't have anything that actually backs that up. Meaning they're just saying it, without proving it. Meanwhile, the United States has the world's largest prison population. Not just by, actual number, percentage of the population. They've got the largest. Who are they to turn around and then say the DPRK has, this number of people and they're being tortured, when they literally can't prove it? Meanwhile, we can prove how bad the United States is for locking people up. And it's really one-sided towards one particular ethnic group. I mean, come on, let's have just a little bit of common sense here and consider the source of where this is coming from. Let's also remember that this complaint about human rights is coming from the George Bush Institute. George Bush. You remember the Patriot Act, right? where thousands of Americans have been locked up without charge. People globally have been killed, locked up and then killed without charge, without any reason being given. Think about that. George Bush complaining about human rights. And always try to keep this in mind when they're talking about labor camps in the DPRK. North Korea can no longer deny the undeniable, said Sam Zarifi, the Asia-Pacific Director for Amnesty International. For decades, the authorities have refused to admit the existence of mass political prison camps. These are places out of sight of the rest of the world. Notwithstanding, North Korea claims that there are no human rights violations in the DPRK. Both Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il have defended and justified the forced labor prison camp system. They just can't seem to get their story straight. Thank you for watching. Please comment and rate the video. If you liked it, hit subscribe or check out some of these other great videos. If you wish, share it on social media. While you're at it, why don't you follow me on Twitter? And if you got time, go on over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.